I think this year I finally like understood laning like way more, like how to punish and how to play matchups better early on, like more consistently. Like whereas like in the past, I feel like I would just win because the players were bad. But I think this year I felt a bit more challenged, so I felt like I actually had to learn.
I think Golden Guardians is a better team. I really thought you guys were going to make it though. The form that you guys are in, the shakiness of teams that were higher up other than Energy, even Cloud9, and I thought that you guys were going to make it. How did you feel about it coming into this game?
I thought before the Energy GG series that if we played GG, we would be doomed. But you know, after watching this series, I felt like these guys are like nothing special. Like, I think for sure we're gonna beat them.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it wasn't really close at all. So we kind of just got stomped.
Yeah, today you guys got stomped. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the performance that I think Golden Guardians put forth on Energy. It felt like that was, they just didn't show up, right?
Yeah.
I felt like today you guys didn't show up. Like, you know, that's not an indictment on like you didn't want it or you didn't practice hard. It was just, it just happens, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what it felt like? Or do you feel like, oh, we were actually outclassed?
I mean, I think different games, different problems. The first one, I think we just didn't show up. Like, we were just too scared, too passive. Like, we just let them get whatever they wanted for free and misplayed a few fights. But, you know, it usually always happens, especially in NA. Like, and then, I mean, game 2, it was just like losing unlosable fights. Like the mid skirmish, when I look at the 3 champions, if they contest us, it's like it should be free win, but we're just messing up fights, and the game is very snowbally right now. So if one team gets ahead early on, they usually stay ahead unless they throw. And I mean, GG is a very textbook team. They just play by the book, don't make too many mistakes, not super aggressive, just waiting around, playing their turns well, and yeah, we just didn't really show up, I guess, and played poorly.
How disappointing is it that you didn't get to put your best foot forward here in the final match of the year?
It's very disappointing, to be honest. I think I worked pretty hard towards to try to make it, and to just have it end like this without really putting up a fight is more disappointing than the loss itself, to be honest. Because I wouldn't mind losing in like a nail biter game 5 series where we play well and stuff, but it just wasn't it today.
Yeah, I know a lot of people would rather have the stomp and get it over with, but given your career, you've had those nail biters, you've had those moments, and I think that's why this is interesting. It feels very uncharacteristic of a Jensen team to not have that clutch factor that you have shown throughout your career.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a you thing. It was all across. I think Rich had a tough series. I think Lucas had a tough series. Tomo was finally online in game 3, but couldn't land anything there. That was kind of a bummer. When you look back at this year, I know everything just ended. The years, it's very abrupt. What do you make of it?
I think at this point in my career, I've played for so long, so like I've experienced big losses before. So to be honest, I'm not like too depressed about what happened, and even though I played for so long, I feel like I actually learned a lot about myself and developed individually. So in that sense, I'm happy with the learnings I've taken away from the year. I mean, obviously the results weren't nowhere close to what I wanted, so it's very disappointing, but I think just take everything I can from what happened throughout the year and learn from it and move forward.
Can you give an example of one of those learnings, something that you didn't know before?
To be honest, I think I didn't really understand fully like how to play like certain matchups or like what makes a player a good laner, like things like that. And I think this year I finally like understood laning like way more, like how to punish and how to play matchups better early on, like more consistently. Like whereas like in the past, I feel like I would just win because the players were bad. But I think this year I felt a bit more challenged, so I felt like I actually had to learn, especially from someone like Jojo. So I think I grew a lot when it came to like understanding the early game more. Outside of that, I think I've always understood the team play and how to play together very well, but just we couldn't do it this time around. But I think, yeah, for me, individual stuff and skill, I think I improved on, which is crazy to think about because I played this game for so long. Like it should have been something I already knew, but it's just been hard when the competition hasn't always been that great.
Sure.
But I think this time around I actually learned a lot individually, so I think going forward I will be an even better player.
Well, that's interesting to hear, because I think of years past where mid lane it felt stacked, and you still were on top of those lists whenever we made the power rankings, whether it was you and Bjerg and you, and then go down the list of Ryu when he was in form, Crown when he was in form, Power of Evil when he was in form. Like you've outlasted so many of those guys. And what do you think made this year even more difficult, given the fact that there were more North American mans, more players that at one point in their career or another like were passed over?
I mean, I think the players are just individually better this time, which sounds crazy to say, but I mean, historically, mid laners in NA hasn't been the best, but we've been able to compete internationally with the better ones. But it felt like the strength the players had, like from the mid laners from North America in the past, was just we understood how to play like team play very well and not make as many mistakes, but not not be as aggressive and like punish as hard. So we would just lose gracefully instead of like be the aggressor. But I think I finally like understood that more on a complex level. But yeah, weirdly enough, the competition has gotten better.
Yeah, not just a Picori scale and. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Not just summing up. That's how you played before, but you and Oriana.
Yeah.
Well, teach me something about what you learned about leadership, because in this roster it was you and Santorin kind of installed as the vets and having to be the driving force, whereas many teams in the past that you've been on, there have been other rocks, I think, that taken the lead, even if, like, let's say even last year's Cloud9, it's a younger Blabber, but Blabber is known as someone who drives the team forward. What did you learn this year about yourself as a leader?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really think of myself as like a great leader in a sense. Obviously something I wish I could do better. But I think, I just try to help the players develop better, and like when I see mistakes or like opportunities that they're missing out on, I try to help them in that regard, and just try to make everyone feel comfortable on stage, especially in like high pressure situations. But other than that, like I just don't think I have like a super great talent for being like a leader. In that sense, I kind of just focus on. I mean, I obviously try to help when I can and try to push players to be better, but I don't know. I don't really see myself as like the guy who's like, like this is like the approach we should take, like kind of thing. Okay. Sometimes with certain things, but when I think of like a leader, like I don't really see myself as much as one of those. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotta ask. The streak is over.
Yeah.
Did that matter to you?
Yeah, of course it did. I think if it happened like maybe 2-3 years earlier, I would have been devastated. But I think now, I've come to understand that sometimes you're going to lose, and sometimes things will be out of your control, and just try to learn from it and not take it too harsh.
Yeah.
Obviously it fucking sucks that it ended. I was really hoping I could keep going. But maybe it's just the fact that like I realized mid-split that like this could be the end of it, right? Like it felt like it was going to be an uphill battle, and
it was.
Maybe that's why I came more to terms with it earlier, that it could potentially happen. Although, you know, going into today, I definitely thought we were gonna win. It sucks. You know, maybe when I come home and I reflect more on it, I'll feel worse. But I think I don't really know like how to feel right now.
Sure.
Just disappointed that I couldn't play better, and we couldn't put up a fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a record that's going to stand for a while. You think about the international players that are great, that have gone to Worlds consistently. All of them have had some sort of break in there, whether it was Faker, whether it's Deft, whether it's you know, Uzi stopped. Who else? Xiaohu. Like, there are a ton of players that go to Worlds all the time, but never had the consistency as yours. And because of that break, you know, you're going to live in the history books there for a while. But now it is history, and a bummer at that, given the fact that all the uphill that you had this year, it was one series away. And
yeah, it's true.
You know, I think that's a testament to you and your career and your work ethic and your skill set.
Yeah.
Final question. This is your third organization.
Yeah.
Kind of want to give you the platform to say anything to your teammates and to everyone that you worked with over at Dignitas this year. You know, given that it's the end and everyone put in their best effort and you felt the results of all those things, good and bad. What do you have to say?
I mean, I think everyone tried their hardest, but the competition is tough, and unfortunately we weren't good enough this time around. But I appreciate that everyone tried their hardest, and you know, hopefully, regardless if we're still the same roster next year, that everyone will keep working hard. And yeah, I mean, I had a good time despite the result not being what we wanted. So yeah, thank you guys for being there.
And then finally, to the fans that have supported Dignitas, and for you as, you know, one of the representatives for North America.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long ride for me. I still love competing, and I think this will only fuel me to try to make it back for next year. And I'll do everything I can to still stay on top. I'm getting old, but I don't think I'm getting that old. I think I still got it. So I'll do everything I can to try to make you guys happy and myself happy as well. And yeah, thank you guys for all the support throughout the years, for the ones who are still been around since day one, and hope to see you next year.
Jensen, everyone, class act, falling short today, but definitely we'll be seeing in the future again. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode of DIG Esports. And you know, it hasn't always been easy getting my thrills since I'm a one-man band doing everything here. So to get my thrills, I get them from Trolli gummy worms. You know, they want nothing more than for you to bite into their delicious, sour heads and bodies into pieces. Personally, I like the raspberry blueberry flavor. It's really good. You should go ahead and get your own. Check it out and get the mind-warping, tongue-twisting sour thrills only at Trolli.com. All right. Yeah, it's weird, these loss interviews, because it's like right after the loss.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it is, yeah.
You know, I don't want you to say something in stone that you don't mean or
I get
anything.
it, yeah.